Eid is not just a celebration, it is, first and foremost, a moment of deep gratitude. It is a day when the believer pauses and reflects, not only on the joy of the occasion, but on the countless blessings that made this day possible. When we speak about the importance of Eid, we must begin here. Because gratitude is at the heart of our faith, and Eid is one of the most beautiful expressions of that gratitude. Think about what Eid really represents. After days of fasting, prayer, patience, self-control, and sacrifice, Eid arrives not merely as a reward for the body, but as a gift for the soul. It is a reminder that every act of worship brings us closer to appreciating what we so often take for granted. During our normal days, we eat without thinking, we drink without reflecting, we live surrounded by comfort, family, and security, and yet sometimes our hearts become heedless. Then comes the sacred month, and through fasting we are taught what hunger feels like, what discipline requires, and what dependence upon Allah truly means. And when Eid finally comes, it is as if the heart says, "Oh Allah, thank you. Thank you for giving me the strength to worship you. Thank you for allowing me to complete this journey. Thank you for every blessing I never noticed before." This is why Eid is so important. It teaches us that happiness in Islam is not empty celebration. It is meaningful celebration. It is joy that is rooted in remembrance. It is not simply about wearing new clothes, enjoying delicious food, or visiting loved ones, although all of these are beautiful parts of the day. Rather, the true beauty of Eid is that behind every smile is a thankful heart. Behind every greeting is a soul that remembers its Lord. Behind every moment of happiness is a believer who understands that all goodness comes from Allah. And when gratitude enters the heart, it transforms a person. A grateful person becomes humble, a grateful person becomes generous, a grateful person stops complaining and starts appreciating. Eid reminds us to be grateful for our health, because many are sick, grateful for our families, because many are alone, grateful for our homes, because many are without shelter, grateful for peace, because many live in fear, grateful for faith itself, because guidance is the greatest gift of all. So when we celebrate Eid, let us not reduce it to a cultural event or a social occasion. Let us honor it for what it truly is, a sacred reminder that every blessing we have is from Allah, and every joy we experience should bring us closer to Him. Eid is important because it teaches us that the greatest celebration is the one filled with gratitude to Allah. And when a heart is filled with gratitude, it naturally begins to look beyond itself. It begins to recognize the people around it, the blessings of community, the strength of belonging, and the beauty of human connection. This is why another great importance of Eid is that it brings people together in a way few occasions can. Eid is not a private celebration. It is not meant to be experienced in isolation. It is a day that transforms individuals into a united ummah, families into stronger bonds, and communities into living examples of brotherhood and sisterhood. Look at the beauty of the day of Eid. From the early morning, people rise with excitement and purpose. They prepare themselves, they wear their best clothes, they leave their homes, and they gather side by side for the Eid prayer. Rich and poor, young and old, educated and uneducated, people of every background stand in the same rows, facing the same Qibla, worshipping the same Lord, and saying the same takbir. There is something deeply powerful in that image. It reminds us that in the sight of Allah, what truly matters is not status, wealth, or appearance, but faith, sincerity, and righteousness. Eid strips away the barriers that society often builds and replaces them with the equality that Islam teaches so beautifully. And then, after the prayer, comes one of the most touching moments of the day. People turn to one another with smiles, greetings, embraces, and words of peace. Sometimes we greet people we know well, and sometimes we greet those we have hardly spoken to all year. Yet on Eid, the heart softens. On Eid, distance is close. On Eid, formality is replaced by warmth. This is not something small. In a world where people are becoming more divided, more distant, more isolated, Eid revives the spirit of togetherness. It reminds us that we were not created to live with coldness in our hearts. We were created to love one another for the sake of Allah. Eid also strengthens the most important circle of all, the family. Families gather, relatives visit, children laugh, elders are honored, and homes become filled with life. Relationships that may have become weak are renewed. Tensions that may have lasted for months can be softened by one sincere visit, one warm greeting, one simple act of humility. How many hearts are healed on Eid? How many broken ties are repaired? How many lonely people feel remembered because someone knocked on their door? This is the hidden beauty of Eid. It is not only a celebration of joy, but a restoration of relationships. And beyond our homes, Eid spreads unity through the entire community. Neighbors greet one another. Friends reconnect. The masjid becomes a place not only of worship, but of visible love and solidarity. For one day, at the very least, the Ummah feels like one body. And perhaps that is one of the greatest lessons of Eid, that our strength lies not in standing apart, but in standing together. Eid is important because it reminds us that true joy is found in unity, brotherhood, and hearts connected for the sake of Allah. And when Eid fills our hearts with gratitude, and when it gathers us together in unity and brotherhood, it leads us to something even deeper, something that lies at the very heart of our religion. It teaches us that true celebration is incomplete if it remains only within our homes and never reaches the homes of others. This is why one of the greatest importance of Eid is that it teaches us to share, to care, and to remember those who may be forgotten by the rest of the world. In Islam, joy is never meant to be selfish. Happiness is not something we lock behind our own doors while others sit outside in hardship. Rather, the beauty of our faith is that when Allah blesses us, He also teaches us to become a means of blessing for someone else. And Eid is one of the clearest examples of this. Before we even gather for the Eid prayer, we are reminded of our responsibility toward the poor and needy. We are taught that before we celebrate, we must first ensure that others are also able to smile on that day. This is not just a noble suggestion, it is part of the spirit of Eid itself. Think about how profound that lesson is. On a day when families are preparing food, wearing their best clothes, and welcoming guests, Islam does not allow us to forget the orphan, the widow, the laborer, the hungry, the struggling neighbor, or the family that cannot afford even the simplest meal. Eid comes to awaken our conscience. It asks us, what kind of celebration is it if our table is full while another table is empty? What kind of happiness is it if our children are laughing while another child feels abandoned and unseen? The message of Eid is clear. If your joy is real, it should overflow into generosity. And this is what makes Eid so beautiful. It softens the heart. It breaks the chains of greed and selfishness. It reminds us that wealth is not measured by how much we keep, but by how much we are willing to give for the sake of Allah. Sometimes the smallest acts carry the greatest reward. Sharing a meal, giving a gift, helping a struggling family, visiting someone who is alone, supporting a neighbor in need, or simply making sure that another Muslim feels included in the celebration. These acts may seem small to us, but in the sight of Allah, they may be immense. This is also why Eid trains us to become more compassionate people beyond the day itself. It is not only about one moment of charity. It is about building a habit of mercy. When we learn to care for others on Eid, we are being taught a lifelong lesson, that a believer is never blind to the suffering of others. A believer notices pain. A believer responds to hardship. A believer understands that serving people is one of the greatest ways of drawing nearer to Allah. So when we celebrate Eid, let us remember that its true beauty is not only in what we receive, but in what we give. Because the most blessed hearts on Eid are often not the ones who have the most, but the ones who give the most. Eid is important because it teaches us that the truest joy is the joy we share with others through kindness, charity, and compassion. And when Eid teaches us gratitude, unites us in brotherhood, and opens our hearts to generosity, it leaves us with one final and deeply beautiful lesson. Eid brings joy, peace, and spiritual renewal. This is perhaps what makes Eid so beloved in the hearts of Muslims across the world. It is not simply a day that arrives on the calendar. It is a day that arrives in the soul. It comes after sacrifice, after worship, after self-discipline, and after effort. And because of that, the happiness of Eid is not shallow. It is meaningful. It is not temporary excitement alone. It is a reflection of something much deeper that has changed inside of us. There is a special kind of joy that comes with Eid, and it is unlike any other joy. It is the joy of having obeyed Allah. It is the joy of having spent days striving to control the nafs, to pray more sincerely, to recite more Quran, to give more charity, to make more dua, and to become better than we were before. And when Eid arrives, it feels as though Allah is allowing the believer to taste the sweetness of that effort. This is why the joy of Eid is pure. It is not built upon heedlessness or distraction. It is built upon worship. It is built upon nearness to Allah. It is built upon the hope that perhaps, by His mercy, our prayers were accepted, our sins were forgiven, and our hearts were cleansed. And along with joy, Eid brings peace. In a world filled with stress, competition, noise, and emotional burdens, Eid feels like a mercy that settles upon the heart. People smile more easily, homes feel warmer, conversations become softer. Hearts that have carried heaviness throughout the year are given a moment to breathe. And one of the most beautiful things about Eid is that it encourages forgiveness. Old arguments can end. Pride can be put aside. People who have not spoken can greet one another again. Family tensions can begin to heal. Sometimes all it takes is one sincere Eid Mubarak. One visit, one embrace, one humble gesture, and years of distance can begin to melt away. That is not a small thing. That is the peace that Eid brings. But perhaps most importantly, Eid is a moment of spiritual renewal. It is not meant to be the end of our goodness. It is meant to be the beginning of a new chapter. After all the worship and reflection that came before it, Eid asks us a powerful question. Who are you now? Are you the same person you were before this sacred journey began? Or has your heart become softer, stronger, and closer to Allah? The true success of Eid is not just that we celebrated one day. The true success is that we carry its lessons forward. That we remain grateful, that we preserve unity, that we continue to give, that we keep the peace in our homes and the remembrance of Allah in our hearts. So yes, Eid is a day of joy, but it is also a day of transformation. It reminds us that every ending in Islam can become the beginning of something better, more sincere, and more beautiful. Eid is important because it fills our lives with joy, our hearts with peace, and our souls with renewed faith in Allah.